Fish in a Tree, Chapter 45, My Brother's Question. I'm working on pictures of cupcakes that talk for an ad campaign for Keisha's business. She asked me to help her. It feels great to have someone ask me for help. As I draw, I think about my sketchbook and how I love it, but don't draw in it as much anymore. It used to be the only thing that made me happy. Now I have other things too. I hear Travis chewing gum in the doorway before I see him. Without looking up, I say, Mom told you to stop chewing gum like a goat. The whole room's not supposed to hear you. He goes silent. Weird. I finish erasing a line and look over at him. He looks kind of stiff, his hands stuffed in his pockets, and then he takes out one hand and brushes his chin with his fist. Travis, what's wrong? I just wanted to ask you a question. You want to borrow money or something? He does that half smile of his and shakes his head, but I can see the seriousness. You can ask me anything you want, Travis. What is it? He comes over and sits on the side of the bed. The teacher of yours, Mr. Daniels, what does he do after school with you? You mean chess? He shakes his head. No, the reading. What does he do? I mean, do you just sit around, sound out words and stuff? I put down my pencil. Well, we talk about words, but it's not the same as other teachers. We never use paper, ever. He has me write letters in blue or pink sand or sometimes in shaving cream. Really? So you can read now? Well, not yet, but it's getting easier. It can be like running up the side of a building sometimes. I get so tired, but I'm doing better. So it helps what he does. Yeah, it's more fun than learning the old way. Sometimes it's boring because he'll do a list of words that have some of the same letters in them, like light and might and night. He writes the letters that repeat in every word in red and the rest in black, and then he makes the words into pictures so I remember them better. I flip my paper over. Here, I'll show you, and I write sun with all of these little lines around it and point outward to look like the sun. And that really helps you remember it. Yeah, and he also has these sheets of plastic that I can see through, but are different colors. He puts those over pages and it makes the headaches better. It's like turning the brightness down on a computer. It's weird. No more headaches from reading, really? Well, I still get them, but they're not nearly as bad. Like a little stick hitting my head compared to a baseball bat. Travis smiles and then stands up. Well, I'm glad he's helping you, and I'm glad that you have Keisha and Albert, Squirt. You're doing great. You're doing great too, Travis. Not long before you'll open up Nickerson Restoration, right? He nods once and turns to leave. He doesn't talk about the neon sign he'll have or the big rolling tool cases or anything. I miss hearing his mouth running like a motor about all his plans. Travis, he turns. Yeah, I could try to help you. Yeah, he says, brushing his chin with his knuckles. I don't need you to do that. I was just wondering. Chapter 46, Flying Tigers and Baby Elephants. Well, Allie, Albert says to me at lunchtime, before I really knew you, I used to call you the Flying Tiger. Ooh, Albert, that's a great nickname, Keisha says. Like fierce. Like nobody messes with her, right? I wish that described me, but it doesn't. Why in the world would her nickname be that? I thought that Albert paid more attention to things. I look up and he is watching me. Well, he asks, aren't you wondering why I called you that? I shrug. It's not an insult, just my observation. I shrug again. Fine, tell me then. Before the United States entered World War II, there was a bunch of American pilots in China. They were called the Flying Tigers. They flew those planes with the shark teeth on the nose. Wait, I said my dad and my brother loved those planes. He nods once and I try hard to shake out the mind movie of me as an airplane. They did not have any planes, so they would repaint them every few missions, change a bit of the design and the numbers so that the Japanese would think that there were far more than there really were. I sort of know what he means. I've watched you trying to figure out how to repaint yourself for other people all the time, trying to make them think one thing about you when the opposite was true, like with the teachers always getting sent to the office. Well, I can't believe Albert noticed all this. Okay, Keisha asks, do you name everyone like that? I like analogies. They interest me and help me understand. What about me? Do you have a nickname for me? He hesitates. Okay, Professor, spill it, Keisha says. He bites his lip. Listen, you better tell me, and tell me now. The baby. What? The baby? Are you kidding me? She gets a great nickname like Flying Tiger, and you call me the baby? What the heck was that supposed to mean? He turns red. I didn't want to offend you. Well, it's just a little too late for that. I'm going to send you into space, where no man has gone before. No kidding. Is Keisha quoting Star Trek now? The girl has lost her mind. I called you the baby because when you're quiet, you're taking everything in. But when you want something, you're loud about it and usually get your way pretty fast. I burst out laughing. Oh man, Keisha, that is too perfect. She folds her arm with a bit of her humph, but then begins to laugh too. Albert, do you have one for yourself, I ask. When he doesn't say no, I know it means yes. Tell us, Keisha says. I'm the elephant. Because you're big, I ask. No, Keisha says, because he has a good memory. Elephants do have good memories, he said, but that isn't why I chose it as my symbolic name. Then why, I ask? Well, I've become a pachyderm. Is that a religion, I ask? His face twitches a bit. No, an elephant is a pachyderm. It means an animal with a thick skin. I guess we're all pachyderms then. Or we pretend to be. His finger picks at the side of his thumb. Elephants feel a wide range of emotions, but their behavior remains constant on the outside. Happy and sad often look the same. I can't remember the last time I had nothing to say about something. All this time I thought Albert was the science guy with as much feeling as a pine cone. But I was wrong. All that watching he does, all that thinking, he really does understand things. He definitely gets me. Chapter 47, Great Minds Don't Think Alike. Mr. Daniels looks really happy as he makes an announcement to us one morning. Today, my Fantasticals, we are going to jump from our social studies unit and talk a little bit about some famous people I bet some of you know. He takes out pictures and stands them up on the tray of the board. They almost cover the length of it, and I worry that we will have to have a test or have to write about our favorite. Mr. Daniels seems electric. I'll say the name, and then you tell me if you know why they're famous. Deal? No need to raise your hands, just call out. Wow, he's breaking the biggest teacher rule ever. He points to the first picture. Thomas Edison. Wait, I know who that is. I squeak out. He invented the light bulb? Great, Allie. But if you know, don't answer like a question. Declare your answer. I imagine myself at a podium in front of thousands of people, arms in the air declaring my answer. What about this one, he asks. Max says, Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone. I did a report on him. Most excellent work, Mr. Daniel says. The next one is George Washington. Everyone knows that one. Henry Ford, he asks. He invented the car, I declare. Well, he did begin Ford Motor Company, but he didn't invent the car. He perfected the moving assembly line, which was a very clever way to build a lot of cars fast. Oh, Allie, how do you know about all of these inventors? My mom bought a DVD called Schoolhouse Rock. It has a cartoon about inventors. Ah, yes, Schoolhouse Rock is awesome. Next one, Albert Einstein. He says this one like he's introducing someone on a game show. Albert raises his hand. Yes, Albert? Albert Einstein was born in Germany on March 14th, 1879. He is considered the greatest human mind to ever have lived in the fields of physics, mathematics, and philosophy. He changed all of science with his ideas. My father says that the field of science was like Pinocchio as the puppet, and Einstein changed it into a real boy. Does he really? Mr. Daniels laughed. That's brilliant. Is your father a scientist, Albert? Yes, sir. He named me after Albert Einstein, so I know a lot about him. Keisha whispers to him, is that why you style your hair after him? She turns to me. That boy has never even seen a comb. Style my hair? Albert asks, confused. Mr. Daniels walks back toward the pictures. I have a feeling that Albert's father is quite a scientist indeed. We go through the rest of the pictures. Leonardo da Vinci, famous painter of the Mona Lisa, also a gifted inventor. Pablo Picasso, another famous painter who created a modern style that no one had ever seen before. Patricia Polacco, talented illustrator and author. Whoopi Goldberg, hilarious comedian and actress. Henry Winkler, famous actor and author. Muhammad Ali, world heavyweight champion in boxing. John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of England during World War II. His intelligence and grit kept the Nazis from taking over England. In fact, all these people had great grit to spare. Grit. I like that word. John Lennon of the Beatles, Walt Disney, creator of Mickey Mouse, and then Mr. Daniel stands back. Don't you all agree that this is a stunning group of talent? Is there anyone here that would be willing to stand up and say that any of these people were stupid? Everyone shakes their heads. Albert gave us a great rundown of Albert Einstein. But do you know that he was kicked out of school when he was young? His report card said that he was too slow to amount to anything. He couldn't memorize the months of the year. In fact, he had trouble tying his shoes. But he was, and remains, one of the greatest minds we've ever seen. I remember when I had a hard time tying my shoes. Travis sat with me for a long time teaching me the baby way, where you make the rabbit ears. I stare at Einstein's picture with his crazy white hair that looks like he had an accident with a light socket. How could he figure out something like time travel and not know the months of the calendar? Mr. Daniel says, some people say that John Lennon is one of the most gifted spiritual musicians ever. He walks over and points to Walt Disney. What about this guy? Did you know that he was told by a teacher that he wasn't creative enough? He moves over. How about Henry Ford? He was born understanding how an engine should work. He just knew without studying it. Hey, that's like Travis. He walks toward the windows, knew exactly how it should go together. He never went to school for it, but he was such a genius with machines. He worked as Thomas Edison's engineer for a while. He built his first car by hand by building a motor and putting it in between two bicycles. And with his idea of using a moving assembly line, he ushered in a new world. He walks back toward the board. You know what all of these people have in common? He asks the class, and then he stands in front of my desk and looks me dead in the eye. Many believe that they all had dyslexia. I feel it in my gut. In fact, I feel it everywhere. He smiles a bit. That's right. As children, they struggle to read even simple words. And based on some other clues as well, most experts now believe that they had dyslexia. But of course, we know their struggles weren't because they were stupid. It's just that their minds worked differently. And thank goodness they did, because otherwise we might not have a telephone or light bulbs or stunning works of art. He smiles. Oh, and we wouldn't have Mickey Mouse. He is quiet for a while. I think he is letting it sink in. So then, for your homework, I have an extra credit assignment. He turns on the smartboard and there's writing. The class is already complaining that they can't read it, complaining that it makes no sense. It's a code, he says. Each letter stands for another. Extra credit for anyone who can crack it. It isn't exactly like reading with dyslexia, but it will give you a taste of how hard it is, how long it takes, and then he looks at me, and how smart you have to be to persevere. He dismisses us, and everyone starts to get ready to go home, but I'm still staring at the pictures of all of those famous people and wondering if they felt like me when they were young. Did they feel stupid? Did they wonder what would become of them? Mr. Daniel squats next to me. Allie? Although the room is loud, it's like the sounds are far away. Are you okay, Allie? Mr. Daniels asks. I turn to him and have to clear my throat before I'm speaking. It's true. All those people there, I look back at their pictures. All of those people couldn't read like me? Indeed, he says, smiling. Not that they couldn't read. They just needed to learn a different way, that's all. He puts an oval-shaped piece of metal in front of me. This is a paperweight, he says. It's a gift for you. For me? Yes, look, he points at the word. Each word as he reads them. Never, never, never quit. Winston Churchill. I pick it up. It's heavy. I'm not giving it to you as a reminder because I know that you will keep at it. I've really gotten a sense lately of how hard you've had to work to learn what you have. And he says, laughing, you've fooled a lot of smart people. So how smart does that make you? I swallow hard. I'm giving it to you because I want you to know that I've noticed and that you're going to be okay, Allie. He leans forward a bit. Better than okay, actually. My head swims with all that's changed in school and in me. Chapter 48, Oliver's idea of lucky. So what's it like, Oliver asks before his body has even come to a stop in front of my desk. What's it like? This thing you have, dystopia or whatever. Dyslexia. Yeah, what's it like? Well, I begin, but don't have an answer. Don't you see everything backward? That's what I hear. He squints. Wait, do you see me backward right now? I shake my head. No, I don't think so. Then a mind movie of butterflies at the museum drops into my head and I look back at him. It's kind of like the letters on a page flutter like butterflies. His face scrunches up. Wait, you mean they move? The letters move? I nod, his eyes widen. That is so cool. You're so lucky. Letters just stand there all boring when I read. I hate reading. I'd rather do anything in the world than read. Really, I ask, wishing that the letters would just stand still for me and wait to be read. He gasps a little as if he can't believe it that I don't agree. Yeah, are you kidding? Last summer my mom kept giving me a choice of reading or washing her car. She had the cleanest car in the neighborhood all summer long. I smile because I really like Oliver. I've been thinking about myself so much. I never really noticed how funny he is. And looking around the room, I remember thinking that my reading differences were like dragging a concrete block around every day, and how I felt sorry for myself. Now I realize that everyone has their own blocks to drag around, and they all feel heavy. I think of that word Mr. Daniels used when he talked about famous people with dyslexia. Grit. He said it's being willing to fail but try again, pushing through and sticking with something even if it's hard. He also told us that a lot of those famous people weren't afraid to make mistakes, no matter how many they made. I think messing up will bother me less than it used to. Keisha, Albert, and I are hanging out on the playground when Shay and a few of her clones come over. So you really have that thing Mr. Daniels was talking about, right? Shay asks. Yeah, I say, feeling proud of it after his talk. So dyslexia, do you see letters backward or something? Sort of, I reply, not sure exactly since I've never seen letters the way other people have. Figures, she says, my brother's in kindergarten and he can see them the right way. She looks at me like she always has. It bugs me, but not like it used to. Albert steps forward. Do you ever see letters backward, Shay? No, are you kidding me? Oh, Albert says, dropping his voice. Too bad. Why is that too bad? Oh, well, it's a sign of intelligence. And then this thing just comes over Albert like he's all relaxed and everything, standing in a way that isn't all stiff and Albert-like. I know that you think I'm a nerd and everything, he says. I mean, you've called me all kinds of things, but there is one thing you've never called me. What could that be? Dumb. You've never called me dumb. She swings her hip to the side and sighs. What is your point, Albert? Well, there are a lot of letters that I've always seen backward, and Ellie sees them more than I do. So who knows how smart it must be. Wait, Albert sees letters backward? Shay is thinking about it, looking like she just found out that she's the only one not invited to a party. What letters do you see backward? Well, OITAMVXU and some other letters, huh? Wow, Shay's at a loss for words. I never thought I'd see that. Come on, she says, finally I had better things to do. I'm going to the bathroom, Jessica says. I'll be there in a second. Obviously, Shay says, you wouldn't dare not be. Shay leaves and her group follows, but they don't all stomp away like they usually do. A few walk behind her, half looking back. Jessica turns and jogs back to us, and I can tell right away she's different. Hey, I think it's cool, the dyslexia, and you really are a good artist, she says, and then turns to walk away and then stops, turns back. And I'm really sorry, Allie, for everything, she says before turning to run this time. My mom was right. I'm sorry are powerful words. So, Mr. Science, Keisha says, turning toward Albert, did the world just fall off its axis or what? Did I just see what I think I did? We all watch Jessica run up the hill. Well, he says there is an explanation. Allie is a catalyst. Not sure what that means, but from Albert it must be good. All of a sudden, Keisha starts cracking up, bending over with her hands resting on her knees, stumbling around like she's going to fall over. God, Albert, I can't believe you did that with the letters, and I can't believe she went for it. Albert cracks a smile. Keisha puts her arm around my shoulder. Albert, here, just gave Shay a whole bunch of letters that are the same forward and backward. If she wasn't spitting nails mad, trying to hurt people, she probably would have figured it out. Then I laugh too. Thanks, Albert, I say. Shay is going to hate you more than she hates me soon. No worries, Keisha said. That girl has plenty of hate to go around. And I realize that it is easier now that Shay and everyone else knows that I have so much trouble. Mr. Daniel says I should concentrate on what I do well. I'm going to try to do that. When I get back to my desk, there's a wooden A on it. I pick it up and wonder where it came from. Allie, my grandfather would like you, says Suki. I carved this letter from one of his blocks. It is for you, A for Allie, but also I think you are amazing, and I admire you, and I want you to know that. I swallow the lump in my throat. Thanks a lot, Suki. Now I can tell everyone I finally got an A at school, and we both laugh. I hear Shay across the room, but she doesn't sound happy. There's something on her desk, too. A pile of old friendship bracelets. Chapter 49. I see the light. During break time, Albert and Keisha are talking about her new ideas for recipes. Jessica and Max and some other kids are laughing about something while Shay sits at her desk watching them. She seems like she's not sure what to do, which is an odd thing to see. Finally, she stands and walks over. However, they don't really acknowledge her, especially Jessica. Something about it reminds me of those empty Sunday dishes. back when Shay and Jessica made me feel small for being me. It's hard to imagine feeling that way. Oliver is going from desk to desk, and as he does, kids are holding their arms over their heads to make a big circle. Then he says something and they answer. When they do, he jumps and laughs. Finally, he gets to Shay and I can hear what he's saying. Hold your arms up over your head to make a circle. She hesitates but does it, which surprises me. Now Oliver says, spell image and then say light bulb. IMAGE, light bulb. Oliver jumps and laughs. Shay drops her arms. You're such a freak, Oliver. Go stink somewhere else. He goes to Keisha and they do the same thing with the arms, but she laughs afterward. And I feel happy for Oliver because I remember a time when he would have sat down and been sad after Shay had said something like that. Looking at Shay, I can tell she's looking around the room, wondering where she fits in now, wondering how all of this happened. I remember how it felt to be alone in a room full of people, so I take a deep breath and head over. Hey, Shay, now that I'm close to her, I can really see how upset she is. What do you want? I just thought I'd say hi. While she stares at me, all of the mean things she's done wind through my head, and I wonder if I've made a mistake in coming over. I think she says we should call you Alley Cat from now on. Go bother someone else. At first I'm surprised, but then I realized it wasn't a mistake to come over because it felt like the right thing. Shay's the one who decided to act mean, but at least I tried. I have to admit, though, I do feel sorry for her.